Nick?
Yeah, already got
my man Nicholas in here.
Nicholas, shout out already, saying he's ready to go. Ready, been
week.
waiting all week for this. Welcome to Ballers and Briefs for tonight on the 14th of October, week 6. Update and preview. So, guys, are we ever going to get anybody back that matters, like Justin Jefferson? I don't think so.
Probably a good thing that he's out.
Yeah, I mean, what I just saw 4 to 6 weeks now, maybe it's changed again. I mean, that's number one pick. At least it's not me this year. Like it's usually me that picks the person number one overall, like Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, 3 years straight. I didn't get that guy this year. That's ass got burnt and is out for 4+ weeks.
I think that was me with Mike Thomas one year.
Fucking terrible.
Burned me up before the first game started.
No, it's cooked.
I believe last year I had Jamar Chase where he was out for a couple games for the hip injury, and I drafted him first. So it definitely hurts when that first round draft pick is out. Yeah. You're definitely kind of trying to make up for those points, but that's really hard because typically that first round pick is getting you about 20 to 30 points per game. So definitely in a season-long perspective. So you're definitely going back to the drawing board if you're a Justin Jefferson holder and season-long. There's not really a lot of options to try to make up for that in a ton of ways. I mean, outside of trying to get your hands on Jordan Addison maybe. But I doubt he's even available. Maybe KJ Osborne, trying to work it from that angle. But there's not really too many options to really replace a person as good as Justin Jefferson.
Madison might get more touches because of it.
Seen a lot of people asking about trades, like what's the best? Should I dish him? I mean, it's all 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, that's the doctor's saying right now. That's a long time. So, we need an update on fantasy records. Our fantasy records. Mine across 3 leagues is kind of the pits right now. On my 12-man PPR, I was on an 0-4 losing streak. Came back last week with the Jamar Chase turnaround, 51 points. Ended up scoring top score of the week, taking that. So now I'm running it 1-4. So I'm trying to pull the LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback. And my 10-man league. I am, believe 3-2. Yeah, 3-2. I think.
I don't do season long, but I'm proud to say I'm up about 500 on DFS. So let's keep the ball rolling.
Yes, and Brad down here is the wheeler and dealer in the group here. I know he's rocking it back and forth every week. So
I am in the 10-man and also in the 12-man. I am 3-2. I think I'm one game out of first place in the 12-man. I haven't really checked the standings though. In the 10-man, but definitely sitting pretty solid as far as for getting through each week. Even dealing with sort of having people out, losing Nick Chubb earlier in my league definitely was a big change. But as I stated earlier, that I was able to get Kyron Williams earlier that year and stashed him. So the moment that Nick Chubb did go down, I was able to get definitely a really good back to come in and kind of replace those numbers. But nothing really replaces Nick Chubb. For my other league, for the 12-man league, I mean, anytime you're in a 12 to 14-man league, I mean, it's definitely tough each week. You're battling with a lot less hands than sort of what you would see, of course, in the 8-man, even a 10-man league. And so you have to really work the waiver wires, really look at the matchups that you're seeing each week, comparing your players, and ensuring that you have the best matchups in place, because plenty of times we've seen where, even myself in the past, where I've left a ton of points on the bench, and there's nothing more frustrating as a fantasy league owner than when you do that. And so just kind of working through those things, you definitely have to be skilled in those assets. I tried a couple of trade requests, but it seems like that brought a lot of anger to the
I saw
Facebook
that. I
fantasy
saw
group.
that.
I wasn't expecting that, but hey, it happens. We all
I mean,
competitive. It is.
it's
We all
just
trying to eat. I
I
understand.
did
I thought I
notice that a
gave a
lot of people at the top.
comparative analysis or comparative trade. I mean, I didn't think I was,
The,
just trying to screw somebody over. But again, that's a part of it. Trying to
the
work it
teams
from
at
that
the top
angle.
of our league, the 12-man league's playing really weird this year. The teams at the top, like they had Jetta was on one of the teams that's at the top. One team that was getting led along was Anthony Richardson at the top. And then I was just looking through some of the other people that had like KP's team has the Jetta, and he hasn't really.
I hope all bad things happen to KP's lineup and only KP's
Yes,
lineup.
and then you got people that have like a pretty much my 10-man league lineup with McCaffrey and Hurts. So it's just people that are these injuries are good for people like me that based a lot of their team on that number 1 overall pick and then stacks. Like I went with a whole Trevor Lawrence stack on my team this year, and that shit has burned me up until this point. But I'm hoping that this is that turnaround week. Phil hates Trevor Lawrence. I hope that week and it's going to turn it around. The wheels start turning, and his only good fantasy game he's had this season came week 1 against the Colts, about 17 or so points. So if I could pull that into a season-long game this week to turn around and pair that with a top 5 tight end, Evan Ingram, that I've got, and Etienne, I think and we get the Jamar Chase that we've seen in the past, and we're getting that Joe Burrow factor back, I think my whole team's about to make a 180, because I'm just saying, don't call it a comeback. I mean, it's still got 30% to make the playoffs. So, I mean,
and just for some perspective, a lot of our 12-man leagues, there's been guys who have started 1-5. It seems like really behind at the early part of the year, get into the playoffs sometimes around 500, a little less, and still make a run in the playoffs. So for all my season-long people, I know you want to think, maybe if you're in even Cody's spot at a 1-4 spot, it's, I can trash it, but keep working that waiver wire. Maybe you can get a trade request going. Maybe you have to just relook at sort of how you're stacking your lineup. Maybe you do have, again, points on the bench that you need to just be inserting each week, and getting that sweet spot to get to the right numbers to get the W's each week. So again, it's out there. It's definitely out there. Don't give up on it. And then again, just going back to just matchups. Look at the matchups. Look at what the receiver is going against. If that receiver is going against, for instance, a Jair Alexander, pause. Think about, maybe do you have another option to throw in instead of that person? Even when they're a really good receiver, you have to be able to make that decision that's going to help to actually save your team, because that other person gets 18, 20 points. So your star maybe only going to get you, or maybe not your star, but your receiver too, only going to get you maybe 10 points.
Oh yeah. So with that being said, how do you think the Pats are going to do going up against the Raiders? We'll get to that. I promise, Nick. If you hang around, we'll get to that point. I promise. I have some thoughts about that when we get to that game. So I guess you want to jump right into the first game, Phil?
Yeah, Commanders versus Falcons.
Okay.
Could start there. I have a little bit of DFS love for this game, and I think it's Millie Maker type love. It's not single entry or cash game love, but
I actually have one of my stardoms for my weekly stardom picks in this matchup as well for this week.
It's in Atlanta. Matthias.
It's in Atlanta. It's supposed to be a close scoring game. Both of these quarterbacks were supposed to be better than what they've shown this year, so maybe they both
went off last week. That's what's crazy.
I would say maybe they do it again this week. Both defenses are, not that great. It doesn't have a super high over-under. It's at 42.5, but games that are projected to be close and be shootouts typically bring a lot of fantasy value. Some notable takeaways from the Commander side is Curtis Samuel. I think it's been 2 weeks in a row now. He's been like the number 1 target for them, and he's hella cheap. for fantasy purposes, and he's always coming in low owned. Most people hop on McLaurin or Dotson, but I think he's your go-to. You could pair him with Howell. You could run it back with Logan Thomas. He had the most target share of anybody on the Commanders last week. And then from the other side, I think it's an easy takeaway as well. It's Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
What about Jonnu Smith? I've noticed that Jonnu Smith is starting to get a heavy target share, and he's a cheap. And no, he's cheap. And
they had 30% targets to Kyle Pitts and 18 or 19% targets to Jonnu Smith. So almost about half the targets they threw that game were to tight ends. So maybe they're running like a heavy two tight end type format. Maybe
that's 12-man personnel. They like that. They like that there in Atlanta.
That's what it is.
So if they're running that, Millie Maker, Jonnu Smith, smaller GPP, but still GPP, Kyle Pitts. I wouldn't play either one of them in cash. And
only $100. Only $100 in DraftKings difference between.
Correct. Kenry played Jonnu Smith that week. He almost won the Millie.
Yes, he did.
It's been constant that Jonnu Smith is like reaping targets there in Atlanta. So
Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith, when he was the offensive coordinator there in Tennessee, had Jonnu Smith as a tight end, so he knows his offense. So I think that's a thing. So, Brad, what player do you have on your 3-pack this week out of this game? Curtis Samuel? Is it Curtis Samuel?
I'm actually going away from Curtis Samuel.
Okay.
Definitely not necessarily kind of in the barrel pick, but I know he didn't have as good a fantasy week last week. But I'm actually going with Scary Terry this week against that Atlanta defense, Washington receiver. He's had double-digit fantasy games in 3 of his 5 games this year. I know last week he did have sort of definitely a down game, but I believe 3 of those games he's also had 6+ targets in 3 of those games. So you're definitely seeing the target share available. Previous teams have had success against this Atlanta defense in the past. I don't know necessarily if he will be a shootout or not, but I definitely believe it'll be a little bit more on the higher scoring side, definitely lending more on the pass and giving opportunities for Scary Terry to kind of get back on track again. So, again, he's one of my picks for my start-on for the week 3-pack.
Now, I would say in season long, kind of where Phil went, and I was just alluding to Curtis Samuel. He's only rostered in less than 30% of all ESPN fantasy season long leagues.
I recently picked them up.
Curtis Samuel would be someone, if he was available on the waiver wire right now, I would pick him up because he is becoming. He's trending upwards. I mean, he's averaging about 12.3 points a game. He's a 36th ranked wide receiver in the league. Now, that got to think, 36. I mean, that's guys. There's tons of guys like all the Bengals receivers, all the Rams receivers.
32 teams in NFL that would put
exactly.
That's on all of those teams as a wide receiver.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So I mean, he has had double digit out of.
Is he basically taking all of Jahan Dotson's share?
He's doing a lot of that work. Yes.
We would go away then from Jahan Dotson on a daily.
Yeah,
I mean,
or do you see some value for Dotson tomorrow? Okay.
I'm not going Dotson. I mean, I don't think that you can't go Dotson, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm just not going there. I think Dotson has more target share on the season than Curtis Samuel, but like Cody said, Samuel's trending. Past 2 weeks, it's been Samuel at the top.
They're roughly projected for around 4 receptions a piece, closer to 6 or 7 targets a piece, and they're almost projected exactly the same according to ESPN Fantasy. Their projections are apples to apples, and I think that if you're hitting this game, especially for GPP purposes, I think that the Phil's spot on with Curtis Samuel here, because Curtis Samuel got to think. I mean, Brad, I know you know that Curtis Samuel's he's a gimmick guy too. He's a gimmick guy. Like he's good on those end around jet type sweeps.
Offensive weapon.
This is Eric Bieniemy's offense. We got to think. Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid disciple, history with Tyreek Hill. This screams Curtis Samuel to me. So
that's the role he's basically playing in the offense.
He's only going to be 4% owned. He's 3,700. I like him for Millie Maker plays. He gets touchdowns.
Yeah, he does. When they try to take away Scary Terry. Logan Thomas.
He is getting a lot of targets.
Only the showtime, as Cody says. Only the showtime.
Getting a lot of target share there.
He's a showtime moneymaker.
Were crazy.
Yeah, he's like I said. If you're gonna stack this game or anything in this game, I think it's easy people to pick. You're not confused like as if you're looking at the Chiefs. Like, who the fuck do I play? With them, it's Scary Terry, Samuel, Crowder. I mean, not Crowder, Thomas. And then on the other side, it's Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. And then if you want to get sneaky and Millie, Jonnu Smith, or Jahan Dotson, because I think he's coming in lower than Samuel right now.
And then the Tyler Algier factor has kind of picked up a little bit over the last week or so. I mean, they're trying. I think they tried to get him more involved in the offense.
He had more than Bijan Robinson last week. That's what scares me about those running backs, is they're both good, and if they're going to be sharing, I don't want either one of them. I mean, it's long though. You got to play either one of them if you got them, because they're going to get points. But
he's 29. Algier's the 29th ranked running back in the league right now. So there you go.
Yeah, and Curtis Samuel's only 7 spots below that as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Well, we have to expect
our prices are in half.
Some games that they have to give carries to other running backs, unfortunately, just to kind of keep the wear and tear down on the running back for your number one. I think the game last week kind of got out of hand a little bit as well, which could have led to them kind of going to the secondary running back to not take too much hits for the Bijan.
I just think it's going to be a split backfield there no matter what, because they're both good.
But Bijan, Algier is a running back, right? Like, we know he's a running back. Bijan is get me the ball and watch what I do with it kind of guy. So I think that you're going to have that 50-50 backfield share, but Bijan's going to be on the field. We saw him on the field when Algier was on the field. So I feel like Bijan's going to be that guy that cuts into a lot of people's different playing time here and there, because Atlanta's just trying to find a way to get the ball moving down the field. So obviously Bijan is a must start. Just put him in your lineup and let him cook, right? So I do see a question from I guess maybe it's just a statement, I don't know, from Hunter. I got sent Tony Pollard, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley for Devontae Adams. I mean,
I make that trade.
That's production, man. I made that trade. Right now, I mean, it depends on. I mean, that's 2 technically number ones, I guess, for a number one. And then
I think Olave's outscored Devontae Adams this whole season, but I haven't looked by himself.
Devontae Adams is going to get you 20 here and there, but I mean, if you're hurting and you need production, I'm not going to tell you this. I'm not shitting on that trade at all, because Tony Pollard's a number one in an offense that loves to run the ball. And Calvin Ridley, I mean, Brad's a Jags fan and he's seen it. It's boomer bust, I feel like, with Calvin Ridley at this point, because it's really, I feel like they're tailoring the offense to whoever Trevor Lawrence can get the ball to. And of course, Phil's going to tell you that Chris Olave's out there. Derek Carr's healthy, or even if Jameis Winston is out there, they love to throw to the slot, and Olave's in the slot. And then since Michael Thomas has been healthy, Olave's been a go-to. So I think I'm not terribly upset about that trade at all. I think maybe if you're not just killing people every week, I think, and you need some help somewhere, especially at running back, and because he's a number one. They're not going to be getting stuffed by everybody like they were with the 49ers. So Pollard's not a terrible number one. He was a first rounder, I can tell you for sure.
I would just ask sort of what that person with Adams, what do they have as far as if you're going to take in 3 players, what do you have at the running back position? I understand the upgrade with the or the differences in the receiver position, but it just again, it just seems like that's a lot of sort of positions, or all of them going, into straight starting spots. If so, then sort of how is that team being made up? It just brings in a little bit more questions for me to sort of help to be able to give the best advice. Of course, just based off of what they're saying, okay, a 3-for-1 typically is a smart deal. But again, if you don't have any house for that running back, or if you don't have another, if you
You
feel
have to
really
drop
comfortable about
somebody there.
there's something got to go. So again, it just depends on how that overall makeup of that team is, to be able to better determine if you really want to take in three. If you got some bye weeks coming up, etc. Okay, I get it. You're stashing away. But again, just take that in mind. And two, I think that Las Vegas is going to be
Out.
either behind or sort of in games for the rest of the year. And when you do have that, you have opportunities for big games out of Devontae Adams. I don't want to. I've lost to Devontae Adams led teams probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years at least in the playoffs before. So it's hard for me to say turn away from Adams. But he could be poised for a big year moving down the road.
Let's go to Minnesota and Chicago. Minnesota at Chicago, I should say.
Division matchup. We need a blinker. Division rivalry. Blink, blink, blink. Yeah,
that's
we need
another
that.
one. Big fantasy production on the DFS side will probably be my main focus for single entry and GPP, smaller GPP pools. But both sides look good. With Justin Jefferson being out, his 15 target shares got to go somewhere. There's lots of ways to get different with this game and this team. It looks like most people are, or you would think most people would be thinking KJ Osborne. I'm not really thinking that. I'm thinking Addison might see more. I think Madison might see more. More dump offs out the backfield. I think Cam Akers is back as well. I don't know what to do with that, but if everybody's going to be focusing this game, from what I'm hearing, a lot of people like to focus this game. I certainly see a lot of spots that get different. One being Cam Akers, one being KJ Osborne. And then on the Chicago side, I think they're getting a running back this week as well.
They ain't got no running backs.
Dante Foreman,
Foreman.
But there's somebody else coming back. It's not who we think.
So right now, according to the injury report, no Khalil Herbert, no Travis Homer, no Roshan Johnson, and no Equanimous St. Brown on the tight end side. I mean, on the offensive side, and then
I'm thinking of.
So they are. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a Dante Foreman show there and the running back for Chicago.
I don't always. I always say it. Temper your expectations with a running back on a team with a running quarterback.
Yes.
We've seen Justin Fields last 2 weeks have games like he had last year, and he still hasn't touched his rushing upside that he was doing last year. So I think we're due for that. I just don't know when it's going to be. Maybe it's now because maybe they don't want to lean that heavy on Dante Foreman. I don't know. And if that's the case, temper your expectations with him. I see a lot of people like focusing him, and I don't like focusing running backs with a running quarterback. So, but I still love Fields in this spot. Minnesota is going to air the ball out. That's what they do. Chicago is going to do the things that they do to score points, which is Fields do everything. He kind of looks like Lamar Jackson in his early years. And I think it's easier to targets on Chicago. It's DJ Moore or Cole Kmet. It's nobody else, literally nobody else. DJ Moore had 40% target share last week, and then the next wide receiver under him had 16%, Darnell Mooney. And then their third wide receiver had 0. Imagine being a wide receiver and getting 0 fucking targets in a game, and your other buddy over here is getting 40%. I think it's obvious where he's going with the ball, which makes it easy on the Chicago side. Minnesota side is going to be harder, but it opens up doors to get different for GPP pools.
Yeah, and I mean, what Phil said about running backs there in Chicago, it's Dante Foreman, but don't sleep on Kyrie Blasingame, the fullback. I mean, I know that his ownership's not there. It's like less than 0.5%. But I just don't see them coming in and just running this straight Dante Foreman, because the simple fact of the matter is Blasingame's a blocking running back. He's a fullback, and he took all the carries last week when they were decimated without running backs. I just don't feel like they're just going to go totally cold turkey straight to Dante Foreman. Now, I could be totally wrong. We've seen teams do that in the past. But I think if you have somebody that's a smart running back that you're going to block for your running quarterback, if you have to, I mean, they're like $100 difference in DraftKings, but I don't know if I'm even. I feel like that the Foreman is going to be high owned more than what he should be, because people think, oh, he did what he did in Carolina last year, like he's going to come into Chicago and do that same thing.
Carolina didn't have a running quarterback like that, so
exactly.
They need to know that kills his upside.
And of course, on the Minnesota side, Brad's man Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison is poised to become a pseudo number one there in Minnesota. And with the issues that I keep hearing, we're getting to the October 31st, 2 weeks from the trade deadline, or roughly 2.5 weeks from the trade deadline. And Kirk Cousins could waive his no trade clause, but he doesn't want to waive his no trade clause. So Kirk Cousins, I could see Kirk Cousins being super Kurt. It's an early game window, no big lights, he just likes to torch folks. And I could see this being a Kirk Cousins trying to show out, I need to stay here in Minnesota. I'm not going to waive my no trade clause, and this is the reason why. So if you get that thirsty, especially even if you're in season long and you have Kirk Cousins, I don't know if I'm not trotting his ass out there just because. So, I mean, DFS, I don't know if he's even if he's playable tomorrow, but we've seen what other quarterbacks have done to that terrible Chicago defense. So,
yeah, definitely the matchup against that secondary for the Bears lends to definitely a 300 plus game potentially for Kirk Cousins. So if you start to kind of chop down what that could look like as far as for who would get that those amount of yards, you could see potentially again Jordan Addison having a good game. But I'm also hoping they start to move a little bit more touches to Madison. I know he's had a couple of chances though on some screens and he dropped them, but look out for Madison on a couple screens tomorrow as well. That may end up going for a little bit further than what he's had before. So watch out also for Madison.
Keep that Cam Akers play in your back pocket too. I mean, his ownership is not there right now. It's not there right now. It's not there right now, but I mean, Kevin O'Connell knows Cam Akers by like the back of his hand, and he didn't make that trade for no reason. He didn't call his buddy, or him and Sean McVay are buddies, and he knows the product. He knows the quality, he knows the quantity. So I wouldn't sleep on Cam Akers tomorrow. So
next game, Seattle at Cincinnati. Another game to focus tomorrow for DFS purposes. I don't think there's many games to focus tomorrow, but back-to-back games right here, Seattle and Cincinnati. We saw Cincinnati maybe come back to life last week. I think we talked about it a little bit on Wednesday's podcast where it looked like Burrow did not look like he was injured anymore with that ankle. They weren't running all the plays out of shotgun. He was able to move around in the pocket, get things done to Jamar Chase.
You talking about Nick? You talking about the morning game, the Baltimore and Titans game? Go ahead, Phil. Nick can answer.
Yeah, I was looking at that. We did see Jamar Chase have his ceiling game last week. I don't know if he'll be able to do that again. Higgins is back. Tyler Boyd got a lot of work last week. We called that. Is definitely room for shootouts. Bring it back with DK Metcalf and or Tyler Lockett. Don't bring it back with both. And I like Kenneth Walker tomorrow. I think Cincinnati is easily exposable on the ground. I called Kenneth Walker earlier in the season, and he got the job done. I think he does it again this week.
I think temper your expectations on T. Higgins tomorrow. He's still not 100%, still questionable. I know he's practiced, or actually he had a full practice on Friday, but that's a rib. It's a fractured rib. We have seen this with T. Higgins before. Last season, he was supposedly good to go. I trotted his ass out there and faded Jamar Chase. T. Higgins comes in, one play, and is done for the day, and then I'm screwed. So temper your expectations on T. Higgins' soft ass on coming off of a questionable tag. I just don't. I don't know if I trust him at all tomorrow. This could flip in my face, but I've seen it before and been there with him on my daily fantasy lineup because I'm like, oh yeah, he's coming back. He's supposed to be 100%, and he comes out there for one play or comes out during doesn't even get in the game, something like that. And they say the lineups are locked, and they say he's playing, and he never even goes out on the field. So
I think another person to look at is Trenton Irwin. He came out and exceeded Tyler Boyd last week, and I think he did last year too when he was in. But I think the reason we didn't see him,
good chemistry with Burrow.
Yeah,
he was real good chemistry with Burrow.
He's a target in the red zone every time they're down there, and he's just a target. I feel like all the time he's always looking at him. I think Trenton Irwin looks like a fucking tight end out there on the field half the time, but maybe that's why he's always looking for him. I don't know. He's just bigger, but he makes plays. He gets it done. If you want to get different in this game and have a stack around this game, I think Trenton Irwin is a good piece that you should get a part of. And Kenneth Walker.
My get different pick is actually Njigba. Njigba for Seattle, the third receiver there. He's had actually 6 targets in each of the last all 4 games that he's played, and they were on the bye the week before. I feel like during the bye week, they may have schemed something up for him. If you're looking for a punt play tomorrow, a little get different play, watch out for Jackson Smith and Jigba. He was the first round draft pick for Seattle. I think they want to try to see if they can get a little bit more out of that value. Now, of course, he gets crushed by Lockett and Metcalf, but in a game like this, sometimes they like to kind of go to the 3 because just sort of kind of coming out of the bye, you got some new stuff you want to work on. So again, just kind of watch out for Njigba, and also sort of a brand name, but Joe Mixon hasn't kind of had that game that he's always sort of one of those you're looking for. He's due for one. I think I called Kittle. He's due for one. And this matchup really lines up really well for him. If they go away from sort of your traditional, if Higgins isn't available to go, maybe they might then opt to go more to the ground game, leaving more options for Mixon and some catches out of the backfield.
His ownership's kind of high, though, for tomorrow.
Mixon?
I mean, I don't like the matchup neither. I think Seattle's pretty good against the run.
It's like they're like 19th. They're like 19th. So they're
That's
like
19th with fantasy. It's 19th with fantasy points, but like for yards as well, Seattle is like 20 yards above average on allowing 20 fewer yards per game to the running back than other teams. So like they're up there with like not allowing yards, and they're middle of the pack with fantasy points. And Joe Mixon's always gonna be one of those guys that's fucking, like Cody said, high owned and expensive. Because
he's like
feel safe when they roster him.
Yeah, he's 6,300. I mean, I don't
gotta get you 24 in a GPP to be valuable. Gotcha. He could. It's Mixon, and it's a
how much is Njigba going for? How much is Jackson?
He's cheap. I actually play.
Yeah.
Let me see. Jigba.
Depends on who you can get, George. Depends on who you can get. I mean, Kenneth Walker is a touch machine, dog. And now we're not going away from you, Nick. I promise we will
do not trade Kenneth Walker. Do not trade Kenneth Walker. He has a breakout game this week. He's the way to attack Cincinnati is on the ground. And Kenneth Walker.
His ownership is low. His ownership is super low.
You want some Kenneth Walker this week, especially if this game's a shootout like it is. That means he's going to get passes out the backfield. He's going to get a lot of work.
Only thing I'm saying is the pack. If you're trying Kenneth Walker in a, it depends. If you're standard PPR, depending on what you're running him in, I'm not trading him unless I'm getting return value as someone like a Christian McCaffrey, which that means you're going to have to package him with somebody else to get a Christian McCaffrey type production. Or you're maybe, I just don't see, because I feel like Pete Carroll loves him, right? And so I don't know if I'm trading him. It really depends on what I'm getting. What else you need. If you need somebody else that's a number one wide receiver, and that's what's getting you killed every week, and you have a running back plethora, like you drafted a David Montgomery, and you can replace that Kenneth Walker production. Oh, your other running back is CMC. So maybe if you can afford to, if you're trying to move up in another spot, wide receiver wise or quarterback wise, if there's something else you need and you can get someone on the hook for Kenneth Walker, maybe. But Kenneth Walker,
do it this week. Don't do it this week.
I would go ahead and wait this week and then see if when he does have that good week, then he's a sell high guy.
I don't know if you'll get an Eckler for Walker just based on the public's mind. But if you were to ask me, I think
no. You're not going to.
Kenneth Walker has been doing just as good. But
I mean, Eckler's been on injured reserve for
Walker, unless you have a really good. I mean, not like necessarily a really good, but sort of, at least a productive is what I would like to say. Running back, maybe if you have, a sort of a Brian Robinson Jr. for Commanders, so he's going to get some production. May not get the fantasy.
Walker's a 13th ranked running back in the league right now, according to ESPN.
Or just stay patient and wait it out. I know sometimes Pete gets a little, he'll change up his running backs a little bit. Like he might go Charbonnet a little bit. But just wait that out. I think Kenneth Walker should pay off over time.
Back to Brad's question, Jackson Smith-Njigba is only 3,600, and he's only 1.8% owned. That's your guy. It's the guy. And let me see Trenton Irwin.
And the corners for Cincinnati are actually halfway decent corners. So they're probably top half of the league corner-wise, one-on-one versus. So you have one that's going to try to take out Lockett and one's going to try to take out Metcalf. And then Gino's going to have to find somewhere else to go. And that Jackson Smith-Njigba is that kind of guy.
But that's why I said Kenneth Walker is the guy.
He's gotten 6 targets each game. It's just the yardage hasn't been there. But all you need is the 2 of those, maybe a touch. And that's your punt play that is exploded. Cincinnati's
tough against wide receivers. That's why I like Kenneth Walker here. They're weak against running backs. But they are going to have to find somebody other than Metcalf against these corners, and they're going
if this is the Cincinnati team that we know, and they flipped that switch last week, and they're 15 freaking catches to Jamar Chase, or 12 catches, 10 catches, and 3 of them are touchdowns, or 2 of them are touchdowns, and then this is the runaway train game, and this is in Cincinnati. They're going to have to have all the horses out there. So I think that it could be a Jackson Smith-Njigba guy. We've seen that in Seattle before. The third guy being that.
Trenton Irwin is also lower owned. He's 0.25% owned, and he's cheaper at 3,300. So if you're looking for punt plays, this is a game to get punt plays in. Both of them have extreme upside. They're boom or bust, I'd say, for big play, big.
And
pool
Trenton
tournament.
Irwin, I would think, will have more upside. I think Trenton Irwin is going to have more upside depending on what you see with T. Higgins in the injury report tomorrow. So check our Facebook out in the morning at 9:45 Eastern Time, 10:45 Central Time, and we will have the updated outs. I know you can find them everywhere else, but if you want just a one-stop shop, join the Facebook group, and it will be there. The Facebook link is at the top of the chat.
Next game, San Francisco versus Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. We're going to have
No
zero
Deshaun
fantasy here. Yeah, no, I'm going to have nothing in this from DFS standpoint. CMC is way too expensive, and the over-under for this game right now is at 36. It's the lowest on the slate. It's probably the lowest I've seen on the season, which means lots of things. It means Vegas knows it's going to be a low-scoring game. And if it's a low-scoring, you do not want fantasy.
Nothing there. It's nothing there.
There's no points.
You're if you have season-long plays with San Francisco, put them out there, run the defense out there. I personally
CMC.
No. But I'm afraid if you have Cleveland's defense, I'm telling you that this for a fact that Cleveland's defense is, even though you got Myles Garrett having his 80th game or 85th game, whatever it is, and he has like 80 total sacks total in his career or whatever it is, I just don't see. He's going to get – we saw Micah Parsons get his ass dealt with that grown man, Trent Williams.
That grown
man.
Myles
Garrett, they're going to have to move Myles Garrett to the other side and let him rush from the offside because that's just
a dead game.
I mean, I feel like this is two halfway decent offensive lines. I mean, the San Francisco offensive line's way better. The defensive line, the offensive line for the Browns is not terrible. It's okay offensive line, but you've got two great pass rushers on both sides of the ball. This is a Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Christian McCaffrey. Run it down their throat. Watch Cleveland squirm because they're trotting my guy PJ Walker out there starting tomorrow.
PJ,
because old Rub and Tug is hurting. So he said I didn't want to come out and play the last time, and now he's supposedly too hurt to play. He might play next week. Forget that guy. I'm out of it. I'm out. I'm telling you, do not play Jerome Ford tomorrow. If you have him in season long, you better have him on your bench because that defense is going to make him look terrible. That's just my 2 cents.
Right. Next game. Next game. Fly through it. Saints versus Houston. My team shitting on Cody's team. Actually, another game. I'm not going to touch anything from a DFS standpoint. Saints defense looked spectacular last week. They haven't looked bad at all, really, on the season. We just threw some games ourselves. Houston hasn't looked that bad either defensively. If you're going to attack them, it's through the air. And
nothing for Olave, Phil?
I don't trust. I mean, the over-under is 42. It's a low game. My thing with the Saints is we just don't score a lot of points. And we're projected to win. So if we're projected to win and we're not projected to score a lot of points, Olave is going to get targets. He's going to do his thing. I'm playing him in season long if you got him in season long. But, like, the tournaments that I like to target are big pool tournaments on DraftKings. And I need people that have, like, a boom potential. Like, an absolute could drop 40 points. I don't think Olave could ever get me 40 points. Saints just do not score enough. And when we do score a lot, we start killing clock. We literally just start running the ball. With Kamara, with Taysom Hill, we're doing all kinds of weird shit. We're throwing little 5-yard passes. We're not catching Olave down the field for a 50-yarder or Mike Thomas. I just don't know why. You might see it early in the game until we get the lead. Then we get the lead, we slow down. And then when they tie us, we do it again, and then we slow down. We're never like shoot for the stars like Jalen Hurts does or Tua Tag, just dropping bombs on people.
I'm gonna go around this one. I'm gonna go around this one because seen this story too many times before. Bill's telling you to go away from Olave. If you have him in season-long play, if you have to get somebody into this game for daily fantasy purposes, I've seen it, been there, wrote the book, talked smad shit to Phil and all of the other friends that I have that are Saints fans, and Michael Thomas is shit on me every time. Michael Thomas is the Texans shitter. Like, he shits on us every time. It's kind of like T.Y. Hilton used to do in Indianapolis, but shit on us every time. Michael Thomas, if you have to get somebody in fantasy tomorrow for the Saints, if I'm not telling you to, but if you have to, Michael Thomas is 4,900. He's
Great.
about 9% owned. He's got about a 21, 22 ceiling projection, high end. No,
there's a 9,000 wide receiver a couple years ago. He cost as much as Justin Jefferson a few years ago. Now he costs as much as Curtis fucking Samuel. What?
That's the difference between having a Hall of Fame quarterback and having, just a top maybe 15 quarterback or a basic quarterback. I mean, basic. And so that is the difference. Yeah, I mean, I've watched Eric Decker look like a top receiver with Peyton Manning. I mean, these things happen.
And he looked great with Ryan Fitzpatrick under.
Michael Thomas has had a lot of foot injuries, which is basically almost like a death sentence for a receiver, and so he's still been coming back off of a lot of real season-long injuries, which has hurt his production.
He fights his own players in the locker room, and he gets benched, sits out, and you're just like, what the hell happened to my, my number one draft pick? Yeah, dude, what happened? Like, I don't know.
We're down.
What
we
about
could be
Kamara?
without.
Phil, is it not a Kamara-shaped game then?
Like I said, I look for games that have potential to boom.
Yeah.
I don't see them having potential to boom. Kamara's probably
That's the way to beat. That's the way to beat us, though, is running the ball. I mean, our front, our middle.
Your passing is terrible too. Y'all allow a lot. Last time I looked, 27 more yards than average passing, and y'all actually allow 13 less yards per rushing than average. So you're better at stopping the run than you are the pass. But Kamara is just always priced high. Didn't even look to be honest.
You guys are without a tackle tomorrow. I mean, Collins going to have to deal with Marshawn Lattimore tomorrow.
I'm not looking at him.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing about that is okay. So, and this is for I'm gonna shift to season long mode real quick. Season long tomorrow. Pay attention to your Tank Dell concussion, Robert Woods ribs. We did just reactivate Noah Brown off of injured reserve and John Mechie III. So again, you got to get players in. So those are just some players to watch for tomorrow. I'm not gonna say that I may not trot somebody out there just because it's me, because I'm a Texans fan. I got to do it. I have to in season long for sure. I had to pick between Jerome Ford and Dameon Pierce. I am taking Dameon Pierce against the Saints rushing defense as opposed to for the simple fact of the matter is this is the reason why I think the game's going to be closer than Cleveland versus San Francisco. Cleveland's going to abandon the run a whole hell of a lot quicker than we are. I don't think my quarterback is as bad as Mac Jones and that bullshit we saw last week in New England.
Oh, you're going to hurt Nick's feelings with that one.
Huh?
You're going to hurt Nick's feelings with that one.
Well, it is what it is. I can't shit on him too bad, but Mac Jones is Mac Jones. I hate Bill O'Brien, and that Bill O'Brien got what he deserved. So, that New England shit is terrible. But I think that we play the Saints better than what the terrible ass.
I'll put it this way: Alvin Kamara is the 5th highest owned running back tomorrow, and he's 6,800. He's going to need to get you 28 fantasy points to be valuable. He's going to need to get you 35 to win the Millie Maker. I don't see that happening. We don't score enough. That's the problem. I mean, Kamara is like my favorite player. I got like 3 jerseys of Kamara, so I'm a big Kamara fan. But when you're talking daily fantasy, it's different. You need value out of players. It's different than season long. You got to get that value, and the price per dollar has.
And
to
again, you guys are down 1 tackle, Landon Young, and Andrus Peat, the guard, is still has questionable with a groin and a concussion. and Ryan Ramczyk, your other tackle, was limited in practice on Friday. So there's 3 of your interior linemen that are banged up, and I believe our defensive line can pick up on that, right? D'Amico Ryan is going to pick up on that and know, okay, they're going to try to beat us in the middle. We may give up points on the outside, but so there you go. So there's if you're trying to get different with Alvin Kamara, I don't think that's different because everybody's going to go there thinking that that's where they're going to beat us, and you're hurting 3 offensive linemen. So have that thought in the back of your mind. And as Phil always alludes to, Taysom Hill's always there lurking. He's always there lurking to take that touchdown.
Vulture, he's a touchdown vulture.
Always there.
And so is Jameis Winston. We did some sneaky plays last year where, he would come in. Who we have? Fucking the redhead dude as quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, he would come in and just run the ball for a touchdown
and
or do a different
Kendre
play.
Miller. Kendre Miller's there too.
It's just too much, man. I don't like that. Kamara's not going to get you 35 fantasy points when we do things like that. So, especially when it's not projected to be a high scoring game.
Yeah, but like I said, Kendre Miller's always there too. I mean, y'all didn't draft him high to be Kamara 2.0 for nothing. So
exactly,
if you have him, if you could pick him up on a waiver, he's a good stash for the end of the season. I could see him being a league winner closer to the end of the season, especially if the Saints can't decide if they're going to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, and they want to give Kamara some time to figure out what they're going to make next steps, and they're looking at new offenses and this kind of stuff. So Kendre Miller's a good stash play for a league.
I don't know what the spread is, but I think Saints win by at least 4. Cody, don't say nothing to that. All right, We'll move on to the Colts and the Jaguars. Brad's, team and Cody's pride and joy with Trevor Lawrence. I don't like this game for a fantasy point. I know Cody was talking about it earlier. I think he might. I don't. Anthony Richards being out. Gardner Minshew's dog shit. Trevor Lawrence is dog shit. That's my take on it. I know y'all disagree, but Trevor Lawrence has not gotten over 20 fantasy points once this year, and he's always incredibly high priced. I don't get it. Let's see. He is 6,500 as a quarterback. He's got to get you 5 to 6x value because he's a quarterback. That's 30 something points, 33 points.
I can tell you a wide
hasn't gotten 20.
I think everybody sees it. No. I know that. I know. I'm saying I'm talking about somebody else different here. Like Evan Ingram, as Phil said, the George Kittle thing. I'm calling an Evan Ingram. He's due. He is the only other player. There's only 2 players in the league right now, Zay Flowers and Evan Ingram, that have his, I believe it's so many catches without a touchdown this season. Evan Ingram is due. Now, in daily fantasy, the bastard is over-owned. He is the highest owned tight end in daily fantasy right now with 12% or 11.5%. Because they know everybody sees that. They see that, okay, Doug Peterson is going to scheme him up. If you have him in season long, you have to play him. He's a top 5 tight end. He just based solely on production. I mean, Brad, you watch every Jags game. So
yeah, I actually have a stardom pick out of this matchup today. Tomorrow for the Indianapolis Jags game. I'm actually going to go with Christian Kirk. In the last 3 games, he's actually had 6+ targets and also had double-digit fantasies in those. Double-digit fantasy points. And 4 of the last 5 games. So I see definitely a scenario, basically a game flow, where he actually gets a lot more production than he did in the first matchup, because I believe that Indianapolis is going to be looking to take away Ridley. And as Cody said as well, as far as for Ingram, I see this being sort of that Ingram breakout game as well. And the fact that the matchup, again, it just lends to that. Now, I know that the linebacking core is fairly consistent with Leonard and Zaire Franklin, I believe. And so that's definitely a little bit tougher as far as for the running game. But I know that ETN actually did have a good breakout run against them the first game that they played. So overall, from a matchup standpoint, I do see Jaguars getting the W again against that Minshew-led other side with AR not being in. I think they can craft up enough plays in order to get the W against the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow.
Pooba, you know your ass is starting Trevor Lawrence tomorrow too. Pooba, you know you're starting him too. If you don't start him, you're full of shit. I know you are. I know you are starting him tomorrow. You wouldn't have drafted him.
Your Kenneth Walker is the 5th highest owned wide receiver tomorrow. So I think a lot of people are seeing what you're seeing, Brad. Him being the go-to. I'm not going to that game in fantasy. I like some other spots.
From a daily fantasy points, as you were saying though, I don't know if there's
it's probably a good cash play. It's probably a good cash play.
I'm not sure exactly where the sort of booms are in this matchup. Potentially Ingram. Just given again sort of how that game flow, I think is going to end up working out.
ASD.
I mean, that's one of the problems because a lot of high-owned players are coming out of this game. And for cash, you want high-owned players, but I certainly don't want 2 Jag players in my cash lineup, especially if I'm not playing Trevor Lawrence. And I'm not playing Trevor Lawrence in cash, so I got a choice. It's either Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram. Which one do I go to? I think for me, it'll be Ingram.
I think Ingram too, in cash purpose for sure, because he's just high owned. ASD, just to answer your question, if that's something that you would want us to do, let us know. If you want us to look into basketball, we spent a lot of time on football because we just started. But if basketball is something that you would like us to branch into and you like our brand here, we would definitely be a different day. But it's definitely something that we can look for. We can look into, and if it's something that you would like for us, just let us know. Like join the Facebook group and say hey. And we have thoughts about it too. We all do play that. We all do play fantasy basketball. We're just not as knowledgeable of it because none of us played basketball. We were all football players. So we do play it and we do watch basketball. So yeah, we
might incorporate it with golf because I'll be doing daily fantasy golf as well. So can run those together or different days as well. That it can take us to another game, take us to Carolina and Miami.
Yeah.
I think I caught this on Wednesday. It's a Mostert show. He's coming in at the highest on running back, so there's not much secrecy there that Carolina's trash against the run. But I always hear, and you can see it for yourself, that Mostert is always due for like an injury. He's always like fragile when you need him the most and when he's the highest owned. So cash, I'm playing him because everybody's going to have him. So if he gets injured, it doesn't hurt me. But in, big tournament pools, I'm not going to play Mostert. You can try to get different with, was it Salvon Ahmed
I think Jeff Wilson is he's doubtful, I believe. He was limited in practice, but he's considered doubtful. You're trying to get different in this game. You're trying to get different players, Braxton Berrios. So I think
you can't go wrong with Braxton here.
It's the highest over/under.
And I wonder if Salvon Ahmed also kind of makes that sort of return. I know he had a good game before he got hurt, so definitely interested to see. I'll wait and see with him, just kind of coming back, but he's sort of one I'm kind of watching a little bit to see what he does moving forward, because all the sort of Miami running backs has that real boom type talent to them, so they can go off on any game.
Do y'all know anything about Chris Brooks?
Is that the running back or
the other running back?
He's higher owned than Ahmed right now, so I was wondering. I don't know much about him, so I was wondering if y'all know anything about him. He might be something to look at. I don't know though. I think it's a Mostert show tomorrow, but cash play. I don't think you're getting different having them in.
Of course, you like your Waddles, your Hills. I also, again, Old man feeling. Old man
He did not
feeling.
practice.
I
He did
just.
not practice on
Oh, he
Friday. He
didn't.
did not.
Okay. Well,
But he is not
watch it.
carrying. He is not carrying. He's not carrying a tag. I just believe it was
Was that a
probably, as you
personal
said,
day?
I believe it was probably Old Man River type stuff. Like he's just taking it for just
With
maintenance
this game
purposes.
probably going to be lopsided, that would mean increased target share for Adam Thielen
Adam
in a
Thielen is still
lopsided game.
only 5,900. That's
Gotta
ridiculous.
get there.
My
I
man,
see
you
another
got
solid
to.
game in a row. I mean,
He's
done it, I think,
11.
3 weeks in a row.
He's
If not,
11%
In the
owned,
millie.
but Jesus Christ.
In the millie, boys. He won somebody $1 million
Bad called
last
it.
week.
Yes.
He
Yes.
won
if
somebody
you
$1 million.
need somebody out there, definitely keep looking at Thielen because again, the matchup just links to it. If you're going to be down there, got to throw the ball. They got to throw it to someone. So,
I mean, that game's got the highest over/under on the slate. So,
and Bryce Young
scoring.
is starting to learn that offense and get accustomed to getting the ball down the field. I am probably going away from that dog shit Miles Sanders. Actually, he's out tomorrow. So there you go. So it's the Chuba Hubbard show.
Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I have Chuba actually in my fantasy. I mean, I just don't have anything. I'm depleted at the running back position. So unfortunately, I have to run out Chuba. So you guys, please pray for me.
I think we agree Miles Sanders is better than Chuba Hubbard, and he wasn't doing shit on that team. So let's take it easy on the Chupacabra.
He's 18. Right. He's 18% owned.
Yeah, I won't own a percent of him. I'll tell you that. You're not running the ball against Miami. Miami's throwing 50-yard passes to Tyreek Hill. You're not going to sit here and try to keep up by running the ball with a backup running back when your starting running back couldn't get the job done behind the line. I think Thielen is the play. They're going to be airing it out. He's got to make plays. He's got to get the job done. He's got to keep them in the game. I don't think it's possible for them to stay in the game because Carolina sucks, and I'm a Saints fan, and that makes it worse for them because I'm a Saints fan. So, with that said, it's a Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Mostert type of day, and bring it back with Thielen.
Also, if you kind of need a tight end, I'm not sure how much he's running for, but maybe Hayden Hurst is sort of a quiet play. If you kind of need someone to throw in that slot, because again, the fact that they're going to be down, they have to throw the ball to somebody. And so that again, just the target share should be there, potentially a sneaky little goal line touchdown, maybe. So watch out for Hayden Hurst. I know I believe the first game of the year he kind of had a big game and then he's gone away. But watch out for him as well, just again because of the matchup.
He's 3,100 and he's less than 1% owned. So
yeah, he doesn't get enough targets for me. But I agree with Brad. If they got to throw the ball, they're gonna have to hit other people.
They got to throw to somebody.
A Mingo day. Mingo was
DJ Chark,
Marshall,
Terrence Marshall.
We called him. We said that last.
We called him like last week. I think I might have been wrong about that though.
DJ Chark is 1.75. I mean, they're just gonna have to spread the ball around. They're all projected. I mean, around 15 ceiling points now. This is ceiling. This is where they could be around close to 15 points. I mean, they're all not. Terrence Marshall, he's around 9, but he's 0% owned and he's 3,100. So he's fourth on the depth chart. Obviously, he's fluctuating. He fluctuated up that 1 week because of Mingo being out. But I mean, Marshall's been around there. He's been around there. So he's 3,100.
Really make her play, yeah.
Do with that as you will, as Phil says. So
next game,
yeah.
Next game, Las Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots. This is Nick's game. I think he wanted to know some things about how do y'all think the Pats are going to do against the Raiders. I don't think they're going to go good. I don't think New England's going to do good until Mac Jones is not playing.
They got to figure out what if they trust him or not, and that's the problem. They're going to be Trent Brown is still questionable at tackle. They're beat the hell up on the defense too. Cole Strange, their guard, is still out. Tyrone Wheatley, their tackle, is still out. I believe they put Matt Judon on injured reserve, the linebacker.
That hurts.
No Riley Reef, the other tackle, he's out. No Juju Smith-Schuster, he's concussed.
Is this going to be a Jacobs game? All these tackles are out. Josh Jacobs runs right through the tackle.
This is a fucking Max Crosby game. This is Max Crosby eating the Mac Jones's fucking lunch all day tomorrow.
I don't think it's going to be good for New England tomorrow, to be honest, dude. It's tough.
This is Jacoby Myers' revenge narrative 3.0. This is what I feel tomorrow.
I feel like y'all haven't even been like throwing the ball to your receivers. Like, it's sad when your tight end is the one getting all the targets and all the shares, unless you're Travis Kelce. But for the most part, Hunter Henry has just been outshining everybody on the team. Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke are splitting literally the same amount of share of carries every game. And they're not being productive. Neither one of them are being productive. Kendrick Bourne, I'd say, had the most target share last week, but like, what did he do? I think you have
no wide receivers that can separate. You just don't. Let's just be real.
Maybe Devontae Parker, but for some reason he's not looking like old Devontae Parker, and hasn't since he came back from injury a while ago. So, and then I don't know the word on Jimmy G if he's good to go or not, but Josh Jacobs might have a good game here, and Jacoby Myers
is 5,800. Okay, so there we go. Knicks. I was going to touch on this. I talked to Brad about this earlier. Malik Cunningham, wide receiver, quarterback. If you
Malik from Louisville, he played like 3 years at Louisville.
Yes, they should play him.
He's a speedy guy.
If you
he's like a poor man's Lamar Jackson.
Yes, he's a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver quarterback. Yeah.
Well, Mac Jones got to sit.
It's not even showing up.
Get Malik in a package. Even if they give him a package a game, that'll definitely be interesting. Actually, if you're playing a daily
showdown,
I actually like the Raiders defense. Key up Max Crosby tomorrow. I just think that this leads to that type of strip sack type game. They don't have a lot of threatening, offensive talent on the New England side. Again, this just feels like a Max Crosby 3 sacks, forced fumble, maybe an interception type game. It kind of gets away. And then you run the ball back with Josh Jackson Jacobs on the other side. So from a fantasy perspective, again, if you're looking for a defense, probably everyone kind of has that. I know that I've picked up the Raiders defense in my I think it's my 10-man league, and I'm starting them because I just think that's fresh meat for a defense. And you got to feel really confident going into that matchup. Again, there's no scary threats on the offensive side. Bill O'Brien is doing what Bill O'Brien does. It just that offense sometimes can look really, really good, but there's whole stages, whole paths where it looks really bad. So
I should like that call.
He is Bill O'Brien. I think that has a lot to do with Malik Cunningham coming along. We saw what Bill O'Brien's offense did with Deshaun Watson here in Houston. It looked great. Like you said, I would say 2/3 of the time it was amazing. It's because he had a quarterback that moved, had some wheels, like he did with Christian Hackenberg at Penn State, the Great White Hope there in Happy Valley. He had a set of wheels as a white quarterback. He could move the pocket around. Mac Jones does not have that. Mac Jones, Phil and I have seen him run out on the field before. It's got to be somebody
with him.
Yes, literally, Mac Jones looks like Gumby out there running. He's making millions and we're not, so I can't really say that shit. But anyways,
He is definitely
Mac
making
Jones
noise.
actually played for the Mandarin Tigers, which is the same tackle Pop Warner team that my son plays for. Actually,
Let's
small
go.
tidbit. But just to go back, as far as for Bill O'Brien, and just to make a note, if you remember too, Cody, a lot of those plays though were improvised scrambles by
No,
Watson. It
Watson,
wasn't
yeah.
necessarily the play design. It was
But he did
Watson
have a
getting
wide
out of the
receiver that could
pocket.
separate.
And
He
he
did have a
did
wide
though
receiver that
have
could
a
separate.
Hopkins, available to him at that time as well. Now, I don't want to put the blame at all really necessarily on just Mac Jones, because if you had an offensive coordinator who was a defensive coordinator before, I think you would have a little post-traumatic stress
He
disorder from
had a
that type
great
of
year under
situation.
Josh McDaniels his first year.
So, and I think that it requires precision. It requires a lot of timing. If you don't have the right receivers or the right running backs or the right offensive line, it's just going to collapse underneath itself. The game is going away from the Mac Jones types, unfortunately. It's
Yeah,
going towards
I
the
told Cody that.
Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allen. You have to be,
I mean,
even
I think
Trevor Lawrence. He may
Mac
not
Jones and
scramble,
Kyle
but he can
Shanahan's
get
San
out of the
Francisco
pocket.
offense is different, Mac Jones. But I don't think Mac Jones is not going to be the same. We saw it. He wasn't that amazing in Alabama. He was good. He was good enough to get the job done. What they won a natty with him,
Yeah, but
but
Alabama's like full of fucking stacked players.
I'm
all
just saying.
around.
What I was gonna say.
I'm
He
just
was
saying,
playing
and he
with
had a,
Jalen
but he had an
Waddle,
offensive. He
Devontae
had a
Smith,
he had a
Najee Harris.
competent. But you guys are forgetting this. He had a competent offensive coordinator at that point. I think Sarkisian was still the offensive coordinator at Bama at that point, right? And we've seen that. We've seen Sarkisian run an actual NFL offense. Bill O'Brien is not a competent offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia was not a competent.
I agree with Brad though. I told Cody this when we got Derek Carr. I was like, I'm not happy about that. I think the era is moving towards
we can Nick,
dual threat quarterbacks that can run and throw the ball, like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tag. I mean, even Mahomes be running the ball.
Yep.
You need a dual threat quarterback to get shit done in the league nowadays, because that's what's winning. That ability is insane, bro.
Even Joe Burrow has that instinct to take off even Joe Burrow has that instinct to take off. Kind of like that Aaron Rodgers shit did. Like Aaron Rodgers, when Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, Aaron Rodgers was not afraid to take off. Like, he's running on a play action fake. There's no Devontae Adams, no Jordy Nelson, no whoever else is open downfield. Aaron Rodgers would run in for 10 yards and slide. That damn same shit that Patrick Mahomes does. Everybody's afraid of Hubbard, London, or Palmer at flex.
I say London.
Tomorrow, I think London too. Yes, Cruz.
We talked about that game earlier. It's probably gonna have some good fantasy value coming from it. And Drake London's the fucking guy in Atlanta, so you ain't gotta worry about somebody else feeding into his target share.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Let's go to the next game. Detroit, Tampa Bay. I don't want any DFS value from here. Usually, the old Detroit Lions and the old Buccaneers, I'd be all over this game for fantasy value. But Detroit this year look pretty solid on defense. They look pretty solid overall. And, do what you will with the Buccaneers is the same. So the total is projected to be 42.5, low scoring game. I don't see any.
No Jahmyr Gibbs. No Jahmyr Gibbs tomorrow. I think Monty's a stack.
Monty's an always play. He's always a play.
I think he's a core play for sure, probably, maybe, but he's definitely cash. He's cash for sure. Cash 100%. He's going to be he's a
cash play because Tampa Bay is pretty solid against the run when it comes to rushing yards. I don't know what their rank is for fantasy points. I could tell you they're 15th. So they're like middle of the pack. Monty might have an average game here, maybe like a 15-point game, 15 to 18-point game. It's definitely going to be good in season long. It's not going to win you the biscuit in the Millie Maker or big GPP prize pools. And he's going to be high owned because he's Monty. And that's why I'm saying, like, both these teams, like back in the day with Tom Brady there and, Detroit's defense being fucking horrible, I would say this is definitely a game to focus on. But the new Detroit and new Bucks. I don't really care for any of it. I won't be looking there for players. They even got the Lions projected to win this game. So, I think Vegas has given them high hopes the way they've looked the last few games.
I think that you're getting Amon-Ra back tomorrow too. So
I actually like for my final stardom pick this week, I'm gonna go with Jared Goff actually against that Tampa Bay defense. Actually, surprising note, he hasn't had one game, Jared Goff, in his four or five games in which he's not had double digit fantasy scores. In two of the games, he's actually scored three touchdown. Had a game of 3+ touchdowns. I just think this matchup kind of leads to that. Them throwing a little bit more. I think you said Gibbs is out. Which again just leads to a little bit more, I think a little bit more production from the air in order to get the job done against this Buccaneers defense, because I believe they still have Vita Vea, who's definitely a good run stopper. So they might be able to kind of control that ground game a little bit, again, which opens up a better game for Jared Goff. Again, he's quietly having a really good, maybe.
He's a hell of a fill-in if you have an Anthony Richardson or somebody like that that's hurt.
If you need at least 15 points tomorrow and you're on the fence at your quarterback spot, if someone's down, someone's out by a week, something like that, go ahead and plug in Jared Goff and kind of set it and forget it like the food machine.
I'll put it this way, Brad. He is the third lowest owned quarterback tomorrow. If you're looking to get different and take down a milli maker and you're thinking like Brad, like this game might have some fantasy potential from his aspect. He's getting 20+ points a game on fantasy. He is 0.6% owned. The only two people below him are PJ Walker and Zach Wilson. So
get different. If you gotta get different tomorrow,
just feel this.
You want to put money somewhere else.
I think that Ben Johnson offense works so well for Jared Goff. Just this. I'm gonna give you this little tidbit here. The only thing that I'm looking for is I feel tomorrow. I love the Jared Goff play. I do. It's just watch out for the interception. He is away from home. He's playing on grass. It's outside. Yeah. Jared Goff tends to. I feel he plays the Bruce Arians type ball game better than anybody else. Risk it or biscuit, right? Risk it for the biscuit. So he's going to launch a ball. He might throw an ugly one down the field, and you have an Antoine Winfield back there sitting there to wait and take it the other direction. So don't get pissed off if he does throw a duck tomorrow, because I can just see that it's possible. But
I can see that.
At the same time, I love the Jared Goff. I love that Jared Goff play, because I know for sure if especially in season long, you're hurting because you've been riding with Anthony Richardson this whole time, or you're in my case and you're in the doldrums with somebody drafted high like Trevor Lawrence, and you want to get different and you want to stream a quarterback, or you need somebody to go for you. Jared Goff is your guy. I believe Jared Goff is this year's like Kirk Cousins has been in the past. That guy that's going to eat consistently, get you points, get you enough, and have guys around you to build for a championship run into the playoffs. We're already basically, this is the third. We're getting into the into the first third of the season. So you're getting to see, okay, this is what we're getting. This is what we're going to see. And Jared Goff, I think, is a top tier, top notch season long.
What was Amon-Ra's injury?
It was, I can't remember exactly. He was coming off oblique. It was oblique. So he was like having, I think he was having a abdominal. Yes, full practice. Yes, full practice on Friday. Yes.
Amon-Ra's back.
He's full ready. He's a good go. And they get Frank Ragnow, the center back.
Ownership is low on these boys. I can tell you Amon-Ra. What's Amon-Ra looking at right now? 5% owned. You're never gonna see an Amon-Ra St. Brown 5% owned ever. So you got to get there. And then you're gonna look at the guy who won the Millie Maker, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Why didn't I think of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, why wasn't I thinking of him?
Yeah.
Because 95% of the people playing are not thinking of him. I wasn't thinking of him. I wasn't even thinking of touching his game. But
Evans, furthermore.
When people are this low owned and they have that potential, that boom, like I said earlier, that boom potential, you got to get exposure to them. Anything else on this game? Go to the next one.
Yeah, I think we're good. I mean, just if you're I think that you're sitting Rashad White in season long tomorrow. That's just my thoughts because that Detroit defense.
I'm not playing anybody on the Buccaneers. I'm gonna keep it real.
I'm torn on Evans tomorrow, but I don't think I'm gonna go his way.
Can't fade it. All right, Arizona at LA Rams. This is another game for DFS Love. Afternoon game. It's tied for the highest over-under on the slate, 47.5. The Rams didn't look too good last week. They didn't put up very good fantasy points, so I was wrong on that call last week. But you can't shy away from them being the fourth fastest paced offense in the NFL and the amount of fucking targets they have there. Cooper Kupp's back, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee. I mean, it just goes on there. The share to spread the ball around looks good. And then on the opposite side, Dobbs might be due for a game in this type of paced game where it's projected to be a high ownership. LA Rams are scoring. He's got Hollywood Brown there. He seems to like Hollywood Brown. He's another one with over 30% target share. I think we mentioned one earlier on a different team that had 40% target share.
He is questionable.
Brown?
Hollywood, yeah. With illness, I don't know what it is, but
that would just elevate Zach Ertz for me even more. If you want to get different at tight end, Ingram's being a number one owned. Here's your difference right here, Zach Ertz. Unless everybody's going there, I didn't look.
I'm looking right now.
He's the third highest though, and so he is different than Ingram, but he's still, he's still chalky. I guess people are saying
that's a way, but that's a way to attack. That's a way to attack the Rams, though. So.
It is.
That is a way to attack the Rams. So if you look that way, that's a good way to look. Pay attention to the running back.
Divisional games, though.
Yes,
Arizona.
But we have seen
I've watched these games get real different, man. Be careful, I would say, in your matchup choices as far as for who you're choosing, because sometimes these matchups
they're horrible against the pass. So there's your matchups right there. And if you like tight ends against the Rams, Ertz, and then all the pass catchers for the Rams. Puka Nacua outshined Cooper Kupp. I know we didn't know what was going to happen when Kupp came back. Was Puka going to step down, to more like a Robert Woods standard?
I feel like even Tutu Atwell has still. I still think, and this is for a season long perspective, at this point, you're probably looking for some fill-in. If you had a Justin Jefferson or something, you're looking for production. You might have had a Tutu Atwell on the bench. Tutu Atwell, I don't think he's disappearing. I feel still like he's going to get you that 10. He's going to get a couple catches, and he's going to have that risk for the touchdown because people are trying to take away. They're trying to take away the Cooper Kupps and the Puka Nacuas out of the world. Tutu Atwell has got the way to take the ball down the field. He's got the speed. They got to go somewhere.
1% owned Tutu Atwell, and Cooper Kupp is like the third highest owned wide receiver on the slate. So Cooper Kupp in cash lineups, those are your double ups, your 50-50s, your heads ups, and then Tutu Atwell is who you want to put in like the big Millie Maker contest instead of Cooper Kupp. If you want aspect of this game, that's where you go.
I like Puka here. I think Puka's gonna. I like Puka here strong tomorrow. There's just something about this matchup. How much is Puka going for tomorrow?
A lot. they done caught this motherfucker back up.
They know.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
He's a lot now.
If he was a little bit lower, I would definitely
8,000. Jesus.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I'm going away from Puka Nacua.
I got you.
With Cooper Kupp there, you cannot pay $8,000 for him. even though he did better than Cooper last week, it's not about that. It's the fact that Cooper could and probably will outshine him.
Stiff Matt Stafford going to throw for 500 tomorrow. Man,
No,
I don't think so.
Not 5. 3? I think there's.
I don't even think he throws 3, but Brad's on that, and he's low owned, so you got to take those chances in like FanDuel and DraftKings with people like that if you want to win the big shot, the big show.
Yeah, I like Matt for 3. I like Matt for 3 tomorrow against that Cardinals defense.
But fucking, Cooper Kupp's 9,000 and Puka Nacua is 8,000, dude. There's no way both of them could ever reach fantasy value in a game. Maybe one of them could, but with both of them being out there and both of them being that price, I like Tutu Atwell now. Yeah. He's low owned, 1% owned,
5,100.
5,100.
Is Higbee playing or is he out? Is Higbee playing?
I think Higbee's in.
Yeah.
Where is he? What is he priced at for the ball?
20. Oh, hold up. Maybe he's out.
No, he's there.
Is Higbee?
No, he's in
4,000. But but that's the thing is I've seen if you guys he's only 4.78%.
Yeah, 5%.
So, but the thing about it is I thought about this, right? Like if you go back and look at the games that the Arizona has played, they haven't let the tight end beat up on them. It's been wide receivers.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about if you go look at that game where they played the Commanders, Logan Thomas didn't have a great game. If you go, but you want to talk about tight ends, I think tight ends on the other side are where you go. You go to your high on Zach Ertz or Trey McBride. Keep an eye on Trey McBride. I mean, I don't think that Trey McBride is a total turd tomorrow.
Low owned Trey McBride.
Because he's out on the field a lot. Every time I seem to see a play, especially on red zone, I feel like he's always out there. And then
how much is McBride going for?
2,500. He's a super punt.
Okay.
He's 0.5% owned, so super punt option there. But yeah, Cody's right. Arizona is 5th against fantasy point value against tight end. So I don't think Higbee's a go-to tomorrow for that purpose. But Cody's right. The wide receivers, absolutely, and it looks like it's going to be, or you're hoping it's going to be a 2-2 game because he's the only cheap one. But even then, I think earlier we named like Jackson Smith and Trenton Irwin that are even half the price of Tutu in the same type of slate matchup that could get the job done and don't have
your Panthers bottom feeders too.
They don't have as much competition. Like Puka and Cooper Kupp are competition, dog. Like I couldn't imagine being a wide receiver with them on the same field.
And they got rid of Van Jefferson. It's there you go. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, no Van Jefferson to even take anything away. So you're sliding down the Benny Skowronek at the 4th
sneaky
spot.
Though, every time with that guy, man.
I think now that was when I felt like he was kind of the
40 yards in a touchdown. As soon as you go to sleep, Skowronek
showdown for sure.
I'll tell you this is an afternoon game, and I like to separate the slates. Afternoon only slate. You're not touching Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua an afternoon slate and thinking you're getting different. You're gonna have to go to a Skowronek or a Tutu Atwell if you want to get different, and you're gonna have to think of those type of things. And if you set your mind there and play one of them in the main slate, and they pop off, you done separated yourself from a lot of people by thinking different. So I like to look at the afternoon games because I look at them as potential advertisements for trades. That's why you see people like Skowronek.
People are frying Michael Wilson, though. I feel like they're frying Michael Wilson. He's only 2.5% owned. I mean, he's only 3,800. I figured he would be. He had a good game.
He let us
down.
Yeah,
but I mean, if they're trying to throw, and Marquise Brown is questionable, and Marquise Brown does not play tomorrow, their number one by de facto is Michael Wilson, and he is only 3,800. So his ownership's going to shoot through the roof, especially in an afternoon window. But
you have to throw somebody.
He played 2.5%, so it's because he let everybody down last week that nobody wants to go back to him. So you got to go there. You got to go there for the like Cody said, the afternoon slate. That's how you get different.
Your Arizona running backs. You're hoping that you're praying to God that Keontae Ingram and Amari DiMercado is going to fill in that James Conner role. I mean, DiMercado is 4,900 and he's 1.5% owned, and then you have Keontae Ingram at 4,500 and he is 0.24% owned. So
Rams are solid against the run. I don't even
but
running backs
Aaron Donald did not practice on Friday. I don't think that is the reason why. I think it's just was a maintenance day. Ernest Jones, a linebacker, is questionable, and Laurel Murchison, other defensive tackle, is questionable tomorrow. So I do think I do see that DiMercado or Ingram is something that a lot of people picked up on the waiver wire. I myself did pick up DiMercado off the waivers as a stash for later on, but I do know that those are waiver wire pickups.
Next game, Eagles at the Jets. This is another one of those. I wasn't really going to touch it, but you cannot touch Jalen Hurts at this ownership ever again in your life. My man is way down on the list at 4% owned. Jalen Hurts, 4% owned. That's crazy to me. You got somebody
defense.
No Sauce Gardner though.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that. He's a dual threat quarterback, dude. He will just run for those points. So you have Matt Stafford coming in at the highest owned quarterback. My dude hasn't crossed like 20 fantasy points yet, just because they're playing Arizona. They got all these targets and they pop off, but like Matt Stafford doesn't get fat fantasy points. Jalen Hurts does.
The Eagles are Eagles. Y'all's. I mean, I don't have a Pistorio Law Firm Lock of the Week, but I see this is Devontae Smith. Everybody's going to go to A.J. Brown because of no DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. This is Devontae Smith. I'm going to beat your ass down the field every time. Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. I just feel like
I couldn't have been more wrong last week when I called Devontae Smith. So sorry, guys. But like Cody just said, I was calling that because he's due for the one. And I agree with Cody this time as well. Like, he's due for that game this week. I wasn't originally looking here, but then I peeped the Sauce Gardner. I peeped the ownership. Like, no one's owning these guys. How are you not owning these guys? They're literally
no Sauce Gardner, no Brandon Eccles, no Justin Hardy, no DJ Reed. That's their starting 4 corners. How do you not get some love to the Philly wide receivers tomorrow?
What is Goddard going for tomorrow? Dallas Goddard.
I knew that's where you were going to go. I knew you were going to ask that.
5% ownership. That's how you get different from Ingram right there.
4,800.
He's 4,800.
You can slap a Dallas Goddard in to your lineup. Still have plenty to play with those upper to mid tier wide receivers and running backs.
Plus, you could save money tomorrow at the running back.
I would say start him.
On
I didn't
DFS,
have him in my list, but I'm gonna go ahead and say start Dallas Goddard if you have him.
Oh, yes, I agree 100%. Agree 100%.
I think you get cheap running backs tomorrow too, so you can stack the wide receivers. You got like Dante Foreman, the Chuba Hubbards that we were talking about. If you want to stack wide receivers, those people are going to get a fat share of percent of running tomorrow, even though we told you we didn't like them for like great fantasy value. But if you're trying to save money, you can go to those people. I like Kenneth Walker. He's I should probably say my lock of the week. I did it before.
There we go.
So I'll go back to my man, Kenneth Walker, as my lock of the week at running back. And you're just saving money all around there. I mean, Swift for the Eagles is in a matchup of a lifetime tomorrow as well. But you always have that. They're calling it something now. I forgot what it's called. But fucking Jalen Hurts just pushing through the line when they're down.
Push. The brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove. There it is. Like, it's a chance for him to vulture the Swift touchdowns, but Swift should eat tomorrow, man. It's all those injuries, and that's how you can really attack the Jets to begin with. So do with that what you will. You don't have to spend crazy money on a running back tomorrow. And you
I
can
like
slot
Swift
them.
having a sort of equivalent game to what Pacheco was able to accomplish. Was that last week or the week before?
Yes.
Look for that style production for Swift
I mean,
tomorrow.
I
They're
like
allowing a lot of
That Goddard
fantasy
pick.
points. They're allowing a lot of fantasy points to the running backs, and they're allowing 35 more yards on average to the running backs than any other team. It's a Swift game. I see so much potential in this game for Eagles players, none for the Jets.
Pretty much.
So, that's another way, especially if you're doing the afternoon only slate. Everybody's gonna be focused on the Rams Arizona game because it's the highest over under.
I could see your Dallas Goddard
Okay.
playing out because we have seen the Jets even in that Cowboys ass whooping that they were taking at the hands of the defense. Jake Ferguson did get into the end zone against the Jets.
He's
So
susceptible to get.
I think that it always seems to be that this time of the year, kind of that Dallas Goddard gets to going, and if there's no injury wall that he smacks into, Dallas Goddard does look like this could be a Dallas Goddard, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith type game, and I don't see that this is it. That train starts rolling downhill, and it's just hard to stop.
I agree. Somebody mentioned running through who we think we're gonna win all the games.
Philly, the money game. Phil owes me money.
I pulled up some spreads. So, we got the Commanders at the Falcons. Falcons are favored by 2. I got the Commanders winning this game.
It's in Atlanta. It's by 2.
+2.
So you get +2 for the Commanders underdogs. But I think they win it straight up, to be honest. And I was the guy
I
earlier.
also do like Commanders here tomorrow. I think Desmond Ridder throws a couple tomorrow. Again, he gets back into that what he did against Jacksonville, which will lend to more than a 2. So they're going to cover the spread if anything.
I think so too. I like the Commanders. I think the Commanders here. I think we saw the reemergence of Chase Young, even in that dog shit game against the Bears, where Justin Fields kind of decided to be Super Saiyan Justin Fields. It still felt like that defensive line when it's healthy and at its best, it is one of the best defensive lines in the league. Chase Young, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen, right? Montez Sweat on the other side of Jonathan Allen as another defensive tackle. I feel like that front four is just formidable, and they're going to have to. Desmond Ridder is going to have people breathing down his neck all day. I feel like that game he had against us last week was just a fluke, but I feel like it was a fluke. I felt like it was just a fluke. Like, I don't know. We didn't. I guess we went in thinking that we were going to steamroll him. D'Amico might have thought, okay, he's played like shit against the Jags, and we do what we do against the Jags. So by that we are going to destroy them, and we're going to play a little bit soft, and that's what happened. So I think it was fluke. I believe I'm taking the Commanders for sure tomorrow.
All right, Vikings at Chicago. Vikings are favored by 3. I've called this like last year and this year. The Vikings, to me, just never cover the spread. And not only do I think they don't cover the spread here, I don't think they win this game without Jay Jetta. So definitely going Chicago here for this one with the +3.
I'm actually going Vikings here. I think it might be better served for Kirk Cousins to not be so one person sort of target based. With that offense kind of being not necessarily one-dimensional, but definitely one-star base. So I'm going to actually go with Vikings to actually cover this spread against Chicago in this divisional rivalry.
I actually am going to side with Brad on this one, just for the simple fact of the matter is I think Kirk Cousins plays ultimate Kirk Cousins tomorrow. This becomes I've got to show that I can excel without a Justin Jefferson, and I'm going to get the ball to my Alexander Mattison. Alexander Mattison always seemed to show his ass against the Bears in the times when Dalvin Cook was down, out. And it always seemed to be Alexander Mattison. I think Alexander Mattison is starting to feel the Cam Akers effect breathing down his neck, and Alexander Mattison does come out tomorrow. I do think that this is a spread-covered game by the Vikings, whether it's at 3 points. I think I'm taking the 3 on the Vikings tomorrow for sure, because I just feel like that Justin Fields might come – he could be crashing back down to earth tomorrow for sure, I think. It's possible.
As of right now, the Vikings are 1-3 and 1 against the spread.
Yeah.
Like I said, they don't ever cover the spread. All right. Yeah. Next game is hold on, I'm on the wrong page. Seattle at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 3. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati in this one, just so how good they looked last week. I think Trenton Irwin steps up in this game, as we mentioned earlier as well. He's a good DFS play. But I got them covering this 3.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati wins for sure, straight up. And I like the points on this one, too. I feel like this game could be – I feel like Geno Smith has got to be one of those quarterbacks. He started to be one of those quarterbacks that plays up to the standard of the other quarterback on the other side. I think if Joe Burrow is prime Joe Burrow tomorrow and we see what we saw last week, I think Pete Carroll empowers Geno to be that quarterback he needs him to be. I think the Bengals win, but I do like 45 tomorrow. That seems like a good number to me for sure. But
is this one in Seattle or
it's in Cincinnati?
In
Cincinnati.
In Cincy. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cause see, I didn't. Okay. So in Cincy, I'm going to take Cincy to cover the spread for the 3. If it was in Seattle, I don't know if they cover that, but I believe they can.
Yeah, that 12th man in Seattle's crazy.
Yeah, I don't see
yes.
it there. Yeah, okay, definitely.
San Francisco at Cleveland. San Francisco.
We all know the answer to that question. You don't even know. You don't even
by
know
9.5 though in Cleveland.
I'm
going San Francisco. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, 9 points ain't shit for them to cover without a Deshaun Watson, no Nick Chubb.
I'll put it this way. I was hesitant at the 3.5 against Dallas, and they beat them by like 40. So 9.5 might as well go ahead and clear cut that as a San Francisco is going to win by 30. So take that for what you will.
I'm going San Fran as well to cover.
Cody, San Fran.
9 points. I think this
Even
is
though I
a
don't like
this
that
is
9 points in the NFL.
I think this is at least a 3 field goal. This is at least a 3 field goal, maybe 4 field goal game win. I just don't feel like that Cleveland's offense can keep up no matter what Kevin Stefanski tries to pull out of his ass. And I just feel like that this is we're proving the point that San Francisco is the best team in the league right now, even though Philly's still there. I do believe that Kyle Shanahan is trying to make a point, and he does have some history with being an offensive coordinator at Cleveland. I'm going to put the boot on their throat and just push down as hard as I can. I'm taking 9 points on San Francisco definitely tomorrow.
Next game is
the Browns, just like Kittle said, fuck the Cowboys.
My team shitting on Cody's team tomorrow. Spread is
only a point and a half.
The New Orleans Saints minus 1.5, and I got the Saints winning this one by like 5. But to be honest, y'all can hold me to it. I would do an alternate bet spread on this. Saints like minus 4 and lock it in. That's just where I'm going with it. All right,
I'm gonna let Brad. We already know where I'm going. Let's go, Brad. Let's Brad take here.
You said that was Saints plus 1, Phil.
Saints minus 1.5. They're favored by 1.5.
Right.
It's in Houston, by the way.
It's in Houston, though.
But Drew Brees isn't our quarterback anymore. It doesn't matter where the game's at. We were a dome team and a dome team only when Drew Brees was the quarterback. Now it's Carr.
I'm just gonna go with the vets. And I'm a side with with Phil's Saints tomorrow. Unfortunately, Cody.
Okay,
I gotta
you're a Jags fan. I would expect you to go against the division, man.
As a Jags fan, I need y'all to take that L.
Uh,
But I'm gonna trust the veterans. I'm gonna trust Kamara tomorrow. I'm gonna trust Thomas and the crew, Carr, to get the job done.
I'm taking, of course, I'm going Texans tomorrow. I say we win by
Good.
3. I say we win by. I say we win by 3.
Okay.
I say it's a field goal game. I'm turning the script. I'm going to say this is what happens every time that we ever played a Drew Brees led Saints team. It was always a close game, and you bastards would always beat us by 3 at a field goal short at the end of the game. We got the better kicker. We have the better quarterback, and we have the home field advantage. Taking us by 3, I'm going to go 24-27 Texans.
We can make a little friendly banter bet. You have to get on the podcast next time. It's time for podcast Wednesday with the Saints leaf on your cheek. If the Saints win, and if Houston wins, I'll do your little Texans.
I will buy a Saints shirt and wear a Saints
shirt. That's not fair, because that's
a
compliment. That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
You want me to put
you got to have Seema use her makeup and put the Saints leaf right here on your cheek.
Saints Florida Lee on my cheek like a cheerleader.
If we lose, I'll do the symbol in your hat right here on my cheek. I have my girl use her makeup, and we'll put it there.
I'll just go buy one of those stick on to the freaking Chiefs freaking center or whatever.
Yeah, put it right there like a cheerleader for the whole stream.
All right.
We'll be ready. We'll be ready.
All right. I got it. I got you.
Next one, Colts at Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 3.5.
It's 3.5 or it's not 4.
My bookie's gonna be different than everybody's, but usually the lines are the same. If you have it at 4, it's 3.5 or 4. Some spots might be 3. For the most part, I'm gonna take Jaguars here. I don't think Colts get this done in Jacksonville with a backup quarterback. They've looked atrocious without Anthony Richardson anyway, so I'm going with the Jaguars here.
Yeah, -4 according to ESPN.
Duval till we die. I mean, obviously, it's easy. It's in the blood. I gotta go Jacksonville tomorrow, even despite the bias, obviously. But I really do like them tomorrow. At home, got a little crowd behind you. Trevor Lawrence shouldn't have anyone talking during his side, so it should be a good chance for Trevor Lawrence to maybe this be the game where he proves Phil wrong, that he can be that top round quarterback. So again, I have them plus the points. I believe them winning at least by 7 or more.
Who you got, Cody?
I was gonna go. I think the Colt at 4. I was gonna take the Colts, but Brad just convinced me otherwise. That was a hell of a used car salesman job that you did right there. I'm going to take. I think that the Jags win it. I mean, of course the Jags win, but I was going to take the Colts to cover at 4 points because I feel like they make this at least a field goal game, and that the Jags have to win this at in late points.
Jags are 3-2 against the spread. By the way, 49ers are 4-0 against the spread, so that 9.5 would fuck them over if they don't cover that.
I think that I like the Jags plus 4 or 3.5 tomorrow for sure. Yeah.
Here's a big one, boys. Carolina at Miami. I'm seeing Miami -14.5.
That's what I see too.
Big point favorites. Damn, that's tough. And I'm going to have to go with Miami on this one, man. I just don't see Carolina being able to stop them from scoring. And Carolina can't score as much as they do. And at some point, they're just going to fall behind. I mean, they might lose by 20, 25 points tomorrow. Might be 30-7.
They did just give up 42. They just did give up 42 to Detroit.
Yeah.
Spread is 47.5. Or the 40, over and under.
And Miami is 4-1 against the spread, so they've been getting it done.
I like Miami with the points. Even though, man, that spread is ridiculous, but I'm still gonna go Miami.
It is, dude. It's tough. Vegas does not make it easy. That's for sure.
I like Miami too here.
All right, next
Ends
one.
up.
Detroit Lions at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Detroit Lions are favorited by 3. I'm gonna have to rock with them on this one. They're the better team in my mind, and I think they can go into Tampa in some nice weather and get the job done and win by more than 3.
Matthias says, "Huh? What'd you say,
I'm
huh?"
also-
To Matthias.
I'm also going all Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff tomorrow against that Tampa Bay matchup. I think he's able to do enough to cover that 3-point spread and get the win plus the cover tomorrow. So Detroit for me, please.
I'm going different from you guys. I think that I'm going the Bucks to cover. I think they lose, but I think the Bucks cover tomorrow at 3. I think I think they cover just for the simple fact of I am tempering my expectations on Jared Goff. I love the Jared Goff play. I feel like he's a hell of a get different play for DFS purposes tomorrow, and he's a hell of a play. But at the end of the day, that one extra interception that he could throw could shift the game back over into Tampa Bay's favor, and they kick a field goal. And we have seen an NFL come in and say, throw the F-bomb and say, F this spread. We're going to I'm effing it up, and we're going to kick a field goal down. We're going to kick a field goal down 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, and mess it up. I think this is the game that happens in. I think that Tampa covers that tomorrow. I think they cover 3 tomorrow.
Next one is Knicks New England Patriots at the Las Vegas Raiders. Definitely going with the Vegas. Oh, it's -3 for the Vegas Raiders. I'm definitely going with them. That is a small line. I thought this would be much bigger in my mind. I thought it would be at least a -5 or -6 for the Raiders. So definitely going with the Raiders here.
Same Raiders. Not too much here. There's not enough talent, offensive weapons over on the Patriots side. I think that's where the game gets away.
Correct.
I like the Raiders here. This is a very interesting to me. Over under 41.5. I don't see that either. The Raiders beat the Packers. I mean, they only scored 17 points. Obviously, I know that was a primetime game, which could be led into that. And it was in Vegas, just like this game's in Vegas. I feel like I do like the Raiders here, but I don't like that 41.5. Dog shit Mac Jones on the other side and Josh McDaniels. I feel like Bill Belichick is record against his own disciples is always been housed, like he's always owned his own people that have come out from under him, and Josh McDaniels is no stranger to having to know who his daddy is. So I still think Vegas wins this, but I don't like 41.5 at all. I feel like this game is just low scoring, boring, and red zone. You never see it in red zone tomorrow.
It's one of those,
All right, Arizona at Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are favored by 7. This is a tough one to lead out with.
6.5 is what I see right now. I
kind of like Arizona at 7, but I don't think I could do it. When teams lack talent, man, it's so hard to bet on them because if they're behind, you just know they don't have the talent to come back. Yeah. And the Rams just have so much talent, man. Even Kyron Williams, if they get out in the lead, he is going to chew through them, and clock's going to be gone. And you can't count on Arizona to come back in the game. For those reasons, I got the Rams.
They did against Dallas, though. That's the only thing.
And Dallas is shit. Defensively, though. They did it defensively against Dallas. They had 3 interceptions. They had like 3 interceptions. Like, that's not Arizona's offense, and I don't see Stafford doing that. So there's just too much talent, man. Cup's not a guy who tips balls.
I'm definitely taking the Rams at 6.5 from what I see here. I mean, at 7, that's scarier, but I think that 6.5 for sure.
6.5. Is it 6.5?
I got it at 7, but you can buy a half a point. You know, bookies are different. Whoever you're betting through might have it at 6, 6.5,
Because
7,
at six
seven
and
and
a
a half.
half, I feel a little bit more comfortable about that.
Well, actually, according maybe that one was wrong that I'm seeing over here, but I believe it Caesars it is 7. You're correct, Phil.
I got them winning by 10, to be honest. Like, so.
I'm gonna go Rams. Rams plus points.
All right, and then Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. The Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 6.5 for me.
That's terrible. I feel like that game's going to be a runaway train. 6.5 ain't enough.
Nah,
Eagles with points. I
think the Eagles win by 14 in this one. Eagles all day.
And I know a game we didn't touch on because we don't ever do above the first one. Tennessee, Ravens in Tennessee and London.
I don't know anything about this game injury wise or anything like that. We didn't cover it, but I think it's
I'm looking at it right now.
I don't think the Ravens cover that if everybody's healthy on Tennessee. I just don't see that happening.
What's the line on it?
I'm hoping for a breakout game.
5.5.
Lamar Jackson.
5.5.
Mark Andrews, but I don't know if it's gonna come tomorrow.
I can't tell you one thing tomorrow. I think Zay Flowers gets his first touchdown tomorrow. That's another dude. That's due for one. He's the other guy that like Evan Ingram that's caught as many passes as he's had this season. He's 29 receptions for 317 yards without a TD. So he's had over 300 yards and over 25 receptions without a touchdown. The man is due. So I think that's possible. It could happen. I did get asked according to this game earlier. Actually, somebody sent me a message on the Facebook page about this game, some prize picks over and unders. So I'm gonna read them off to you guys really quick since we're on this and they watch the show. So their prize picks for tomorrow is Derrick Henry over 16.5 rushing attempts. I like that.
Over 16.5?
Over 16.5 when he's averaged around 17 or 18 a game, even though this is in London and we see how games tend to play to the running back in London.
I like that.
Derrick Henry's actually had some pretty strong games in the past against the Ravens. I think they go back to him strong tomorrow.
Gus Edwards over 11 rushing attempts tomorrow. I think that's
that guy.
Justice Hill takes some carries.
I was about to say I was all over Gus Edwards as like my play last week, and he couldn't. It's not even him. The running back call for Baltimore was the play last week, and I called it, but instead they gave it to fucking Justice Hill for no reason, dude. No reason at all.
Okay,
and he comes in and fumbles the fucking ball. But on top of that, with Justice Hill in there doing that bullshit that they just did, I don't like that play. I wouldn't even have went there, to be honest.
So Cincinnati, well, this is Gus Edwards' splits. Okay, so in week 1 he had 8 attempts. Week 2 he had 10. Week 3 had 11. Week 4 he had 15, and week 5 he had 12. So that was where I kind of cringed a little bit because of the front four with Jeffrey Simmons and them in Tennessee. But again, this is London, and we have seen that it lends to running backs. I personally was not terribly hurt by the 11 attempts.
I just wouldn't have touched it. I wouldn't have touched it. I don't know which way it'll go because of the way that Baltimore is incorporating Justice Hill for no reason. So they gave him all the goal line touches, all like the third down touches, all the second down. It was like, what am I watching? So because of that, I wouldn't have touched it.
Okay. The next one is Mark Andrews plus 4.5 receptions. I think that's probably a given.
I like that.
I do. Tennessee, Nick Folk, more than 1.5 field goals made. I think this is probably a field goal game, probably tomorrow. I like that. Justin Tucker, 1.5, more than 1.5 field goals.
Yeah,
he's had roughly almost 2 attempts in every game so far. And then the last is Jordan Stout, the punter for Baltimore, plus 3.5 punts tomorrow. If this is a running, slow, field goal kicking type game,
Probably.
I think it plays into that.
Probably.
I like that.
3.5 is kind of maybe 3.
I mean, that's 4 drives.
I would go under. Actually, I would go under.
On
3
punts?
is a lot of punts. 3.
3.5. So
Yeah,
he needs
3.5.
4.
You need it. Yeah.
He's
So,
4 punts.
I see 3. Maybe.
I would say that's a punt a quarter. I can rock with the
Maybe,
4. I can rock with the 3.5.
Well,
One punt a quarter.
Zeke,
if they're running it,
Zeke, if you're listening, I know Pooba was listening earlier. Zeke, if you're listening, there is from the boys. There's your prize picks for tomorrow, on the Facebook page.
Pooba, send me a trade request, man. Go ahead and give up Jacobs.
He did. He did tell you that you were.
Let's go ahead and book the deal.
Low
man.
life
Come on,
insurance
man.
policies.
Let's just book the deal then. Whatever it's got to do. Whatever we got to do. Let's go ahead and get that done.
Wheeling and dealing, but yeah, I don't like the 5.5 for Baltimore tomorrow myself. I
don't
like
either.
I think Tennessee covers that spread. At
Yes.
least. I think it's at least
That's
a 3-point ball game.
3 to 3
Thanks,
points.
Nick. My man Nick, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody
Nick.
that tuned in.
Thanks everyone who listened. Appreciate the support and the
conclude
questions, man.
this
That was
one.
great.
Hop in the Facebook group and ask
was great.
questions. Live before everything locks. Tomorrow we'll let you know if anything changes and where we're going. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We are out. See y'all on
Peace.
Wednesday. Jump in the Facebook,
Peace.
like Phil said, and we'll answer any questions you got in the morning. Inactives, actives,
Check
shit
it
like
out.
that.
Check out the
Sneaky
YouTube.
plays.
Subscribe, likes.
All right, time to go beat up on some kids on some video games, fellas. All right, y'all.